Hi, I'm Justin, and today I'm going to be talking about the NFL and marijuana. So my main claim is that the medicinal use of marijuana is beneficial to NFL players. And my three main supporting claims are that marijuana is much safer for players than other forms of medication that they are actually allowed to take. 2, marijuana helps players manage their pain levels and gives them a natural pain relief. And 3, marijuana has neuroprotectant qualities that can help better protect NFL players battling with brain injuries. So coming back to my first point, marijuana is much safer for players than other forms of medication. Right now, the main source of painkillers that NFL players take are opioids. And while both opioids and marijuana are used to treat chronic pain, marijuana is much more effective and safer. Opioids are highly addictive and toxic, and according to an article by Jeremy Costin, 28,000 people died from an opioid overdose in 2014, showing just how unsafe it is. Therefore, while it may help treat pain, it is incredibly addictive and dangerous, making it a very bad decision. In a Harvard-led study examining the efficacy of exocannabinoids to treat pain, it was concluded that the use of marijuana was very effective. Marijuana treats pain just as effectively, but also treats pain just as effectively as opioids, but is also even used to treat opioid addiction. In a University of Michigan March of 2016 study found that marijuana decreased side effects of other pain meds, improved the quality of life, and reduced the use of opioids. When marijuana can be used to treat opioid addiction, it is clear that it is more effective and safer. Other than opioids, however, though, players do self-medicate by using alcohol and over-the-counter painkillers. Players sometimes need more treatment than they are already given by team doctors, and therefore they continue to use addictive forms of pills, many times on the recommendation of a team doctor so that they can stay on the field and continue to make money. In most cases, this results in painkiller abuse, so much so that players abuse pills and that it resulted in a federal lawsuit and even sparked an investigation by the DEA. When players abuse pills like this during their careers, it negatively affects them for the rest of their life. As a result of becoming over-reliant on drugs during their careers, NFL players that are retired use opioids at a rate that is 4 times higher than the general population. Now, on to my second claim, marijuana helps players to manage their pain levels and gives them natural pain relief. Marijuana helps players with their aches and pains and their recovery. The most common use for medical marijuana in the United States is for pain control. Marijuana helps relieve nerve pain and is a fantastic muscle relaxant, and that was from Harvard Medical Journal. Also, THC has some benefits, particularly with pain, anxiety, and nausea. And this was found in an article in the Washington Post. Players go through pain, anxiety, and nausea almost during every game, whether it's pain when they get hit, anxiety during a big game or a big play, and nausea whenever they get nervous. However, it is not only the science that backs it up, but players themselves also. I think in due time, the NFL is going to realize that CBD is not a performance-enhancing drug. If anything, it helps with anxiety, helps with concentration, it helps with pain. And this was a quote from an ex-NFL player, Ebenezer Ekubom. And just to clarify, CBD is a component of marijuana, opposite of THC, where THC gives you more of the high, CBD has more of the medicinal qualities in it. And if the science backs it up and the players also are pushing for it, then I don't think that it should be ignored. Now, my third point, marijuana has neuroprotectant qualities that better help protect the players battling with brain injuries. While it cannot fully heal neurodegenerative diseases, marijuana can help players deal with their symptoms and make life much more bearable. A review published in 2012 in Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society discusses that cannabis may exert neuroprotective effects through mitochondrial regulation, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, and clearance of damaged cells and molecules in the brain. This demonstrates how marijuana protects the brain and gives some context to the science behind it. Players that have had testimonies from players also show the protectant qualities of marijuana, not just the science. Players that have had scans showing degenerative brain diseases present have been interviewed, and those players that are or have been using medical marijuana describe their symptoms as being less painful and having a higher quality of life. Therefore, I think that the medicinal use of marijuana is beneficial to NFL players because it is safer for them than other medications that they're allowed to use. It helps them to manage their pain levels and give them pain relief, and that it has the neuroprotectant qualities that can better protect their brains when battling brain injuries. Thank you.
All right, Justin, I'd like a little bit more context at the beginning of the speech, but I think it was very clear what your proposition was. You lay out what the secondary claims are pretty clearly. You are rushing through all of this, and so I think you need to pace yourself, especially at the beginning when you're setting up the body of the speech, because the audience is going to be listening to these things. They need to know what's coming up. And like we talked about, the whole purpose of the preview is to kind of give people a heads up about what's happening. If you rush through that, it's like, you went by the sign at 85 miles an hour instead of 25 miles an hour and you didn't see what it was. The fact that it was there doesn't help you that much. So you need to, be thinking about what the function of those things are. I thought you did a good job internally signposting the secondary points pretty clearly. And on each of them, you provided some information that I thought was pretty reasonable. There are a few places that there are, we end up with stuff that's a bit ambiguous. We've got a lot of self-reporting by players who've used this. We've got some very generic information about the pain benefits on this. There's the stuff about opioids. I don't think anybody doubts that opioids are dangerous. The question is if they're dangerous in the way that they're being used in the NFL, and I think we need more specific information about that. The fact that 4 times as many people in the NFL use it as average in the general population, that might simply be a reflection of the amount of injuries that they've suffered, and so they have a greater need for it. I'm not sure that there's as much demonstration of the addictive element that goes on there. If people are using them when they're injured during the season, do they continue using it? I think you need some more information on that. It's a little generic at this point. The second point on the benefits, again, I thought you had a couple of pretty good pieces of information, but you also had some generic information about the painkiller kind of thing. The third point feels like a little bit of a stretch. You do have a piece of information that connects it to brain activity, but the notion that this is going to moderate CTE in some way or that it's going to help players cope with that, all you've really got after that is like this self-reported data and listening to people who are taking a drug. If you get some medical studies on that, I think you need to cite those. Right now, it's just anecdotal stuff, which is not a bad way to start, but I think you need something a little bit more substantive. But I thought it was well organized. You found some good evidence in a couple of places to support your idea. You certainly have enough information to make a compelling case for people being able to use this. However, you do seem to assume that opioids are the only alternative medical treatment, and I think we need something that suggests that that is the case. All right. Oh, and same thing that I mentioned to somebody before, and I said it to you earlier. You're rushing a little bit, and you don't need to go quite that fast. Thank you.